Hi Y11 and welcome to your next geography lesson. We're finishing coast topic today, so before we finish we are going to do one last brain dump. I'd like you to spend 10 minutes and write down everything that you remember from the last two lessons and your fieldwork trip about coastal management. Give me some examples, tell me about how they work. Really do elaborate points here. Don't just list some names, tell me a little bit about how they work, maybe some advantages and disadvantages, as much information as you can. 10 minutes starting now. Pause the video. Okay, so here's some suggestions on the screen, but I'm going to go into some in a bit more detail so you can use this to check and correct and add to your brain dumps. So what are coastal management strategies? Well, they're methods of protecting the coast from flooding and or erosion. Why? Well, we need to manage the coast for socio-economic reasons as well as environmental reasons. So social, economic and environmental reasons for this management. Then we split into the two types of management, hard and soft. Hard management strategies are where we stop natural processes from happening. We usually quite man-made, heavily constructed strategies as well. So they're costly, expensive, but usually very effective. They do affect the natural processes, though, which can have a negative impact elsewhere. For example, groins, which stop longshore drift building up the beach, sea walls, gabion cages, and rock armor, which all act as protection at the back of a beach, taking the energy out of the sea, out of the waves, protecting the land behind it. Then we have soft management strategies. They're usually cheaper. They usually involve working with natural processes. For example, managed retreat, where we allow an area of land to be flooded in order to protect the area around it. Beach nourishment, where we add sediment to the beach and build up an existing beach, again using the beach itself as the protection method. Dune regeneration and fencing, which definitely go together, where we plant marram grass and we fence dunes to protect them, to keep them more stable, to stop people from walking over them. Again, the dunes themselves acting as the protection. Much like a seawall, much like a gabion cage, much like rock armor, but this time a lot more natural, using the natural processes and sort of supporting those to protect the coastline. So there we go, that was management so far. Now we're going to have a look at our final example. So please copy this title, Coastal Management Example, Lyme Regis. We did originally plan on using Barton-on-Sea, and actually if you sit the exam, whenever that may be, there is, you can absolutely write about Barton. If they ask for a coastal management example, you can absolutely write about Barton. However, with home learning, it proved to be a little bit tricky to do it that way, so we're going to be using this other example of Lyme Regis. There's a lot more to it, there's a lot more to talk about. But like I said, if your memory of Barton is excellent, you can use that as well. So we're going to locate Lyme Regis, we're going to identify how and why this coastline has been managed, and we're going to describe the strategy. So we're going to be using what we already know of hard and soft engineering and applying it here. There's nothing new as far as the management strategies go. It's just about being specific about how they've been used in this place. So copy the title, make sure you've got the date. You need a pen and a pencil today and a ruler. So get yourself sorted for that and we'll move on. Pause the video now. Okay, so the location of Lyme Regis, please use the maps on the screen to write a few sentences. 2 or 3 points. Tell me where in the UK it is, tell me the region, the county, and yes, use compass directions. There's a compass in the top right there for you should you need it to help you locate it. So get cracking with that and we'll see what I've written in 2 minutes time. Pause the video now. Okay, so Lyme Regis is a town on the south coast of England. It's situated in West Dorset, that's the county, and then there's some extra information here that you could add in. It's an area of outstanding natural beauty, and it's midway between Weymouth and Exmouth, an area known as the Jurassic Coast. You've probably heard of that. It's a World Heritage Site when we talk about places like Swanage and the coastline there that we studied earlier when we looked at Old Harry's Rocks and Studland Bay. That's all part of the Jurassic Coast as well. Okay, I'd like you to watch this video and answer these 6 questions in full sentences, please. It should take you no more than 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. Get cracking now and pause the video. Okay, some answers. So, what is the area susceptible to? What is it vulnerable or at risk of? Landslides and slips and erosion because of the geology, the types of rock there, and exposure to storms in this area. What damage has it experienced in the past? Well, in the 1970s, a couple of houses and businesses were taken and eroded by the sea. We've had damaged roads, vital infrastructure, and the main road running through the area was at risk. quite an important road there. Number 3, what strategies were put in place? Well, hard engineering, seawall, drainage from the car park, rock armour at the end of the seawall. And their main aims? To protect people and housing, businesses, but also to gain access to the coast from a promenade on the seawall, a walkway, to encourage tourism, and it's good for businesses in the area. There's ecological and environmental enhancements. They've eradicated some invasive species, creating rare habitats, coastal scrub, for example, grasslands, and the gas and electricity lines protected as along the main road, which was threatened. Number 5, what mitigation plans or strategies did they have for the area? Well, ecological surveys, making plans to protect species identified at risk. And finally, how has this worked to help scientists understand the Jurassic Coast? They've carefully uncovered fossils in the area, and it's helped scientists to learn more and understand the geology of the area by recording what has been found. Please make sure you've got all of those points. Pause the video here and add anything that you may have missed. So what has been done? Well, if we look on the screen here, you've got a diagram or a sketch map essentially on the left and a satellite image on the right. And you will notice certain similarities. It's the same coastline. For example, if we look up here, I'm actually going to go in reverse order. Up here where I've highlighted, this is phase 4. This is phase 4 of the project. Well, phase 4 of the project is up here on the satellite map. Hopefully now you can start to see some similarities in the shape of the coastline. This area here with the river Lyme coming in, that is this area here on your map. You've then got the, if I just choose a different color, I actually use the same color. We've got this beach here. Well, that's this beach here. And then finally, you've got this area called the Cobb and the surrounding harbour all around here. Well, that's this area here. So hopefully that all ties up now and you can see where they are. And you can see that there's a lot of settlement right next to the water. This is why it's really important to protect this area with these different strategies. Now you'll notice again that there are some different phases. We've got phase 1 and 2, which is this main body of work around the beach and that area. And then there's phase 4, which is to the north, which is a separate phase that was done a little bit later. So through time, these are all the phases. Now phase 3, where's that gone? Well, you'll find out later, but essentially phase 3 did get abandoned. Phase 3 never actually happened. So anyway, you can come back to this slide if you need to. Let's move on. This slide is here just for you to read through. I'm not going to read through every single word on this page. You can see again, you've got the same map you've just seen. You've got some new information on the different phases, some interesting information about the issues and what's going on, and also the positive and negative outcomes on the second page, which are going to help you to evaluate this. We're going to come to those later, but for now, I'd like you to read through this page. There's a PDF copied in as well, should you need it. You're going to need this information for the next few tasks and throughout. So read through this, pause here, and we'll move on. Okay, so using those 2 pages that you've just read, I'd like you to complete these 2 tasks. Number 1, using a pencil and ruler, please draw neatly that table and just simply categorize all of the different strategies that you've just read about into the correct area. And then finally, you're going to draw a sketch map, so a sketched outline of the coastline with those strategies on, so in some ways a copy of that map there. And then you are going to add to it. So you're going to start annotating more information, more place-specific information about as many of those strategies as you can. So for example, you can see there for phase 4, the total cost of phase 4 was £20 million. So I've added that on with 2 arrows showing that it's not the seawall that was 20 million or the nailing drainage and so on that was 20 million. I've put those together. So make sure that you sketch that in the middle of a page, because you're going to need to leave plenty of room around it in order to add that information. And this is where the bulk of the place-specific information you need is, so this is really, really important that you do this properly and spend some time on it. Anyway, pause here and get cracking with those 2. Okay, so we're on to the final part of this lesson now, which is to look at the benefits and disadvantages of this scheme to be able to evaluate it. So what I'd like you to do is to take these 7 points. These are the ones from the textbook, but we can certainly explain these in more detail. So you're going to copy and complete these. You're going to write benefits as a subtitle. The new beaches have increased visitor numbers and seafront businesses are thriving. So, and then you're going to explain that point. So what? Don't forget to think socially, economically, environmentally, and really try to elaborate your points as much as possible here. Develop them. Don't just stick with the simplest answer. Try to move beyond just a couple of words there and that's it. Try to really get to grips with what is good and what is not so good about this. If you finish that and you've still got plenty of time, there's a final task at the bottom there, which is to start really truly evaluating these points, because I think some of those arguments you're going to think are great arguments and other ones are not so good. So you're going to rate them, where 10 is a really important argument and 1 is a really unimportant argument. And then you're going to justify 3 of the points you've made. So out of the 7 there, you're going to pick 3 and you're going to tell me why you've said it's 10, it's 7, it's 6, it's 2, whatever the number you've chosen is. Anyway, pause here and get cracking back with this. Okay, so here are some possible answers. I'll let you read through them. You don't want to listen to me reading all 7 of those out. The red is the bit I've added. Now, it's a possible answer, as you can see. There are other ways of writing this. There are other points you could certainly make. So use this if you want to double check. If you think you've written the same point, but mine's a bit better, maybe you'll want to add something from mine. If you haven't written anything, if you weren't sure about 1 or 2 of them, well, you can absolutely have these for free. You can copy these down. So there we go. There's our evaluation done with some explanation. And if you did the challenge task there, you've also thought about which of these arguments are the more important and which are the least. So well done. That's the end of the lesson. And that's the end of the coast topic. And in fact, it's 2 lessons or so away from end of the course. We've managed to do it pretty much with no lessons to spare. One of my classes is going to be right up until the very end. The other one is going to be finished, I think, a little bit earlier. You're finishing your lessons on the 15th of May with us in subjects and going on to other things then for the final week or so, whatever it is. But yeah, you would have been sitting your paper 1 exam with this material in on Monday, the 18th of May. That's not very long away, is it, at all? But there we go. That's what's happening. So thank you very much for your time here. Take care, and I'll speak to you next lesson. Bye.